Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today we're looking at this. It's the Maybach Stradivari Superfly HSS model in vintage cream finish. Now, I was very excited when Maybach said I could take this guitar home from 42 Gear Street 5 and make some videos with it. Unfortunately, I do have to give it back afterwards. But this is the first time I've ever had the joy of having a Maybach here at home at Rich Words Music Towers to make my own detailed, in-depth video with one. I've had the fortune of playing a bunch of Maybachs over the years, at Henning's place actually, and you can see some of the videos there with the likes of Krenar Chilku, where we go through a bunch of different Maybachs, and they're always fantastic. But as I said, this is my first chance to really get into the nitty-gritty of one with my own rig and really get to develop a bit of a bond with it and understand it with my own surroundings. So that's pretty cool. And it's also kind of cool because I'm not really that much of an S-type guitar person. I always find guitars like that a bit of a challenge. In fact, I've only ever really owned one that I kind of like, and I still need to make that one better. And this guitar promises more than your traditional guitar of that ilk. Number one, because it's HSS, so it gives you that more modern, more versatility in terms of tone. Number two, because it's Maybach and it should be fantastic, made in Europe quality as well. And number three, because the Superfly is something different compared to what Maybach have built before. It has that extra modern edge compared to their more traditional Stradivari models. So what I'm going to do in this video then is first I'll tell you about the features and the specifications of this guitar. Then we'll go into a lot of detail in terms of playing it. I will play the guitar in as many different musical styles and settings as I can possibly manage. And at the end, I'll give you some more opinions on having played this guitar extensively since I've had it here on loan. I'll let you know whether I think it's going to be worth your money and whether I think it stacks up against your more traditional options in this sort of a price range from the likes of Fender and so on. So stick around for that too. But first, those features and specifications. Now, this guitar is made in the Czech Republic and it'll cost you around 2,300, 2,400 euros here in Europe. So it's full on professional quality all the way. And that is reflected in what we've got under the hood as well. So we've got this beautiful vintage cream finish and a really nice sparkly white tortoiseshell sort of a scratch plate. And those are hiding a two-piece alder body. Now on the front of the guitar as well, we've got great quality in terms of everything appointment wise here. We've got HSS pickups, and these are actually another thing I'm very excited about because they're made by Monty's, a really hyped up UK builder who is doing some great things, and I've never had a chance to play Monty's pickups before. This is my first opportunity, so really excited to hear how those sound. Next to that, we've got a really nice Gotoh bridge, whammy tremolo system, and the specific model number is the Gotoh 510TFE1, and you can see that the whammy is very much flush to the body, so this guitar is all about moving your pitch downwards, maybe the odd little dive bomb here and there, but you won't be moving upwards in terms of pitch as you could with a floating bridge of this nature. Now we've got your pretty standard 5-way switch here and a volume and 2 tone controls. It's common for a guitar like this not to give you any access to the tone control when using the bridge pickup, and that is the case here. So this middle control here, the top of the 2 tones, gives you access to the neck pickup, and the bottom one here controls the middle pickup. When you're down on the bridge humbucker, you're full in humbucking mode. There is no coil split or anything like that, and you also have your tone on 10 at all times, which is actually the way I personally prefer things. Now, moving around to the back of the guitar, very much familiar territory if you know your double cutaway S-type guitars, big tummy cut here and a bolt-on neck as well. Now, if we move up to the neck, we've got a maple neck here, and that is covered with a beautifully dark and rich Indian rosewood fingerboard. I should also say that the neck and the body are finished in nitro cellulose lacquer. Now, the neck profile itself is very comfortable to me. A lot of the Maybach guitars that I've played in the past have had extremely chunky necks, and I do like that to an extent, but some of them have been just a little bit too large for me, a little bit too girthy. This one is incredibly comfortable, and I think it will fit in pretty much any hand. Maybach call it a flat C profile, and it's really nice indeed. Now, the neck itself is your sort of patented 648mm scale length. You've got 21 medium jumbo frets on this bad boy, a 42.8mm bone nut, and in terms of fingerboard radius, well, you can choose with this guitar. This specific one is a slightly more modern and comfortable to me feeling 9.5 inches, but you can also choose the more traditional 7 3/4 inches. And if I move us up to the headstock there, that's your Maybach S-type headstock and 6-in-line Gotoh locking tuners. So this is the Maybach Stradivari Superfly HSS model, and what we're going to do next is play it in as many different musical styles and settings as we possibly can. My rig for today is going to be my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 amp head. We'll start on the amps clean channel and we'll play some folky stuff, some poppy stuff, some bluesy stuff, some indie stuff, and I'll probably have to come out of my comfort zone a bit and try and play some sort of riffs and licks that you might expect to hear from a guitar of this sort of nature. Really not the kind of thing I tend to play in my own time, but I'll do my very best. After that, we'll move up to the Amp's Crunch channel and try some indie rock and some classic rock stuff, and I'm really excited to hear how the Monty's humbucker works for that sort of music, but I think it's going to be really, really good. Then we go up to the Amp's Lead channel and do some harder rock and some punk rock, maybe some progressive rock as well. And at the very end, we'll go back to the clean channel on the amp. I'll kick in my Rev G3 distortion pedal, we'll tune the Stradivari down to drop D and see how it handles a bit of metal and a bit of modern day sort of chugging, because you never know, it might just manage to do that. Enough talk then, this is the Maybach Stradivari Superfly HSS model in vintage cream finish. Let's play it now and we'll speak in more detail about it afterwards. Okay then, so that was the Maybach Stradivari Superfly HSS, and I hope you enjoyed the playing and the tones. Leave me a comment down there telling me what you think of this guitar and whether you think it matches up to other instruments of this nature in that kind of 2,300, 2,400 euros or dollars price point. It should be boutique, it should sound fantastic, it should play fantastic and feel fantastic, but now sit back and let me tell you my opinions about having played this guitar pretty intensively. I'm going to start by talking about the first impressions I had of this instrument when I got it out of the box. Maybach unfortunately didn't have any of their amazing cases available at the show for me to take this guitar in, but rest assured, if you're buying one of these, it comes with one of those beautiful Maybach paisley sort of hard cases. Very, very cool indeed. Now, the vintage cream finish is very classy and elegant looking. It's a very sort of classic S-type finish as well, and it goes fantastically with the dark rosewood fingerboard too. It's not the world's most exciting finish, that's for sure, but the aging has been done very, very well indeed, and it really does seem to be a high quality instrument just when you look at it. And then you pick it up as well and you realize, yes, this has been made to the highest possible quality standard. Everything about it just feels fantastic straight away, from the balance to the frets and everything else too. Now, my other first impression when I picked up this guitar was that, yeah, the weight is decent on this one. This specific instrument is 3.4 kilograms, that's about 7 pounds 8, so very much a decent sort of a weight. Not too light, not too heavy, feels fantastic and balances really well whether you're playing sat down or whether you've got a guitar strap and you're playing standing up. Now, apart from that, the only other thing that I noticed when I first picked up the guitar was, okay, so this is an HSS double cutaway type guitar, but it has these Gotoh locking tuners, so it's kind of a mishmash, a juxtaposition of the classic and the modern. So what we should have here are loads of versatile tones and rock solid tuning stability here. That is also aided by the fact that we've got the whammy bridge flush to the body and not floating, and we've got that juxtaposed with the traditional S-type of guitar. So really, this should be a guitar that can really play and perform in any sort of environment. And after that, I took a look at the spec sheet to see what we had, and I became even more excited. We've got this Indian rosewood board combined with an alder body. That's a great recipe for tones of this sort of an ilk. We've got these Monty's pickups, we've got the Gotoh hardware, we've got the bone nut. In short, everything on a really, really great level. And that was matched up by the feel of the guitar as well when I had it in my hands for the first time. The frets and the neck have been done beautifully. The setup is, as you might expect, absolutely immaculate. Beautiful soft fret ends, rolled fingerboard edges. The neck has that lovely medium to slightly chunky flat C profile. These Gotoh tuners are rock solid. The flush whammy is also rock solid as well. The knobs and switches and pots feel fantastic. And when it comes to stuff like the Monty's pickups, well, what more could you expect from a guitar like this? So in terms of build quality, absolutely fantastic. And when you start to play, the playability matches that as well. This is a really comfortable guitar to play. It's incredibly addictive, and I found myself losing hours and hours to just noodling away on this instrument. It really inspired me to make music, and what more can you say about it? Now, we've got a nitro finish on the back of this neck, but it's not sticky at all, so no worries there if you prefer a satin neck. I personally always tend to prefer a satin feeling neck, and this nitro finish is as close to that as you're going to get without actually being satin. The rest of the guitar in terms of playability, absolutely top notch. There is one problem that I always tend to have with this style of guitar, and that's that as I strum, I'm quite heavy-handed, and I do tend to knock the volume control down as I play, but I haven't experienced that with this guitar yet, so that is something to note, and somehow it's really working for me. And now we come to that other all-important thing, which is the tones and the sounds of this guitar. Leave me your comments telling me what you think about the tonal properties of this instrument, but for me personally, the Superfly HSS is comfortably the best sounding Stratocaster type instrument that I personally have ever played. And I've actually played quite a few, even though I don't really own any, because I want to get what all the fuss is about. But as soon as I plugged into this guitar, I felt like I sounded as authentically S-type as I ever have done in my entire life, and it was kind of a revolution for me. I thought that I sounded like what I hear when I hear amazing players playing this type of instrument. You know, your Jeff Becks, your Thomas Blugs, your whatever, those kinds of guys. I felt like I was achieving those tones for the first time in my life. So perhaps this is just the first decent S-type guitar that I've ever played, but I know that that's not the case. I really, really like my 1903 or 94 Japanese Strat that I happen to own, but that tone-wise has actually got nothing on this guitar. This guitar sounds fantastic fantastic. And these Monty's pickups, they're just so well balanced, and they were so addictive for me as well. Normally, I'd never really put too much thought into the single coil, neck and middle pickups on an S-type guitar, but with this one I just found myself noodling away and playing for hours and being inspired to try new things and play new stuff, and that rarely happens with me with guitars like this, so I absolutely loved that about this guitar, and I hope you can hear and see that in the playing part of the video too. So for the clean tones, this guitar was absolutely fantastic. Like I said, there's a great balance between the pickups. The humbucker has a lot of beef to it, so it's really nice and broke up the clean channel on the amp a bit, but the other pickups, really classic sounding, really authentic sounding, and just perfect for pretty much everything that I tried them with. When we moved up to the crunch channel on the amp, I thought that the Monty's bridge humbucking pickup was fantastic for classic rock sort of riffs, really nice, thick, fat, pushed mid-range tones. It was great for indie rock as well. Now, with an HSS guitar like this, you're never quite going to get that glassy, brittle high end of an S-type single coil bridge pickup, but that's maybe a good thing. It works personally for me very well. And that was the case too when we went up to the amp's lead channel. For harder rock and 80s rock, this guitar is absolutely fantastic. Again, really thick and fat sounding, stadium rock tones in abundance. And I just want to step in and talk a little bit more about the Gotoh whammy here. It came set flush to the body. This is something I've never really played with before, but that gave me a lot more tuning stability than a floating bridge would tend to do, and that just worked for the kind of music that I was playing on the lead channel of the amp. For punk rock, I thought this guitar sounded fantastic as well. When we went into real high gain and tried to do the chuggy sort of a stuff, I think the classically voiced nature of this Monty's humbucker wasn't perhaps quite as well suited to that as it was the other styles that we did, but it can keep up with that sort of music too, and I could have stuck a tube screamer in front of the amp to make it even tighter still. But overall, in terms of tones, this guitar has actually changed the way that I think about this style of instrument, and I'm going to have to try some more Monty's pickups in future, and I'm also going to have to try some more Maybachs and some more Stratocaster type guitars and see where the journey takes me. But full marks for the tones. I was blown away by how good the Stradovari Superfly performed in that regard. Now, if you've been watching this video and you're wondering what else is out there, or maybe you want to go more traditional, 3 single coil models, well, there are a bunch of guitars at this sort of a price point that you could look at. I would suggest you look at Maybach first as well. You've got their Stradivari's with 3 single coils, and they have a number of different options available, and also their custom shop. Now, the prices of those guitars will start at around 2,000 euros or dollars, so very much high-end instruments, and the custom shops are probably twice the price, or maybe even more than that, but they are exquisite instruments, and with this one, I really think it's an absolute no-brainer if you've got the cash and you're looking for something like this. When it comes to competition from other brands, obviously the first name that's going to pop into anyone's brain is going to be Fender, and for around this price point, you're probably looking at the Fender Ultra series of guitars. You can get those with 3 single coils or with HSS pickup configurations. They're a little bit more expensive than the Superfly HSS, but also fantastic instruments in their own right. There are a number of other brands who build high-end, boutique, double cutaway, S-type sorts of instruments. The other ones that spring to mind are from the likes of Suhr, Charvel and Jackson, and of course, if you want to do it slightly more traditionally, you've got the Paul Reed Smith Silver Sky guitar, because everyone loves a bit of John Mayer. That's a more traditional sort of a guitar with 3 single coil pickups, but very much worth a try if you're into that sort of thing. And if you've got a bit less money, there is a PRS SE Silver Sky available for around $1,000 or 1,000 euros, so that's probably going to be worth looking at as well. And if you wanted to try something with a little bit more of the modern flair even, then something like the Ibanez Prestige range of guitars, they're made in Japan, high-end ones, are going to be absolutely fantastic choices there. Really, really well made, sound fantastic, and are super versatile as well. So in conclusion, this guitar is actually the best Stratocaster type instrument that I personally have yet to play in my life. It's really, really good in every respect, and I can't stress enough how fantastic it feels, how well it plays, and how amazing it sounds. And I really hope that all of that translates across to the medium of YouTube so you guys can appreciate it too. But get down to a local Maybach dealer if you've got one anywhere near you and give some of these guitars a test, because they're definitely underrated, they're definitely unsung heroes of the guitar world. They don't just make these S-type guitars, they make a bunch of other models as well, some of them classically themed, some of them single cutaways, and some of them some slightly more original designs. So very much worth looking at, but there's nothing that I can say negative about this guitar. If I'm looking for something that I would personally change, I would give it a Lake Placid blue finish, or maybe a turquoise, sort of an ocean blue sort of a finish, and that would just catch me 100%. If the guitar looked like that, and I know that this is a very superfluous thing to say, but if this guitar looked like that, Maybach would not be getting it back from me. Everything else about it is just wonderful, and it's changed my perception of how good a Stratocaster style guitar can be. So 10 thumbs up from me for this instrument. It just, in every respect, has outperformed and exceeded all of the expectations that I had for it, and I had pretty lofty expectations to start with as well, and that's all I can say. Give one a try if you're looking for something like this, and you never know, it might become your next high-end S-type guitar. I hope that this video has answered all of the questions that you might have had about the Stradovari HSS Superfly, but if there's anything else you'd like to know, drop me a line down there and I shall answer you to the very best of my ability. And if you're still around, it would really make my day if you wanted to drop a sub to my channel, or like the video, or share it, or anything like that, because that really does help. But that's been it for today's video. I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.